Classes in session. And welcome to Unlearn 16 Classes in Session. We are on the fourth season of, guys, we're on the fourth season.
Oh,
of
yeah.
Buffy. Guys, listeners, listen, there's a couple of gems in season 4. A couple.
What?
Wipe that look off your face. There's a
Few and
couple
far.
of gems. But it's a hard season. We took a bit of a hit. We took a bit of a hit in season 4. We're gonna get through it with the best of them. We're gonna trudge through. What's the word when you like trooper through?
We're gonna
Carry
shoulder
on.
this burden.
Yeah.
Carry on. But I don't have to do it alone. So I have Stu and I have Stefan, two of the most amazing Buffy podcast commentators I could have possibly found. Boys, do you want to give your synopsis, your bio, your
Stefan,
dating
please go
profile? What would
first.
you like? What would you like to give?
As the former liaison to the senior partners, now trainer of Slayers, you can find me at SJ Maroney on Instagram, and also as one of the hosts and the creator of Rebel Without a Closet, the podcast, RWAC POD.
Amazing.
And you can find me on TikTok at JNIKON_. But also, like, after spending the weekend in the Hellmouth, I think I'm more able to talk about Buffy from a molecular level. Like, I've crawled out of the Hellmouth.
I get it.
Fought off the Uber vamps, and here I am,
I
standing on UC Sunnydale.
It's true.
God.
Ready to talk about it.
I think
Buckle
we're
up.
ready to go. I think we're ready to go.
I just want to say one thing on the top. Yeah. I think it's an actual fucking crime that Eddie died. I think, I wish Eddie replaced Xander as the new
the freshman.
The freshman. I loved him. He was funny. He was cute. There was a little bit of puppy love between him and Buffy. Could have been a great friendship. And then what happens? Sunday comes in and kills him. It's just horrible. I really liked him. I know he's only had a cumulative a minute and a half on screen. I was sold.
But if we didn't have him, but if we didn't get rid of him, we wouldn't have had Parker. And how important was that to show Buffy in a terrible space?
Okay. Why do you want to hurt
What is this season?
What
is the season?
Parker?
You know what it is, guys? No. But what it is, truthfully, on the big picture, the first year of university, everybody says, it's great, it's this, it's that. They're all liars. First year university is a disaster for pretty much everybody I've ever known. Kids pretend it's fun because just like when we get up to whatever beer bad, because they're drunk the whole time, they don't do anything they're supposed to do. They're completely insecure. They're just follow groups of people trying to make new friends. It's awful.
I agree with you, but I have to complain about Parker for a second because I think it's Stefan's heard this rant. Here's the thing. I don't care about the fact that Buffy had her second time with Parker, thought he was the end all be all. He taught her how to steal food from the cafeteria. I don't care. I don't think he was witty or funny or anything. He was a waste of space college bro that they smashed privates together and that was it. Yeah. The fact that Buffy Summers, who has literally saved the world 3 times over at this point, had to spend her start to this season was feeling out of place, being hit down by Sunday, and then Parker, where she cries about him for 5 episodes before drowning herself in a pitcher of beer and turning into Neanderthal Buffy.
Isn't it?
It was 5 episodes. 5 episodes of her talking about it, whinging away about Parker. Why does she give this guy a chance? We didn't get anything from all of the other guys she's dated other than Angel. We've not heard this from. We've not seen her act this way. This is a completely different thing. And I hate this puritanical idea of women giving up sex and then feeling bad about it, feeling shame about it after, and men being you have to stop. You're so emotional. And then she literally proves him right by crying on her bed, waiting for him to call. And I'm what? This was not in the archetype of Buffy leading up to this season. What happened to Buffy?
No.
This is ridiculous.
In season 3 with Scott, she was oh no, Oh no. Okay.
Done.
It
It was
Well,
like
yeah, she didn't like Scott.
No,
Look,
not
she
really.
didn't like Scott. But we got to talk about the freshman because we don't get to Parker till episode 2.
Correct.
right.
But I think the freshman is a decent episode because her roommate is amazing.
Oh my god, her movie was amazing.
I
The
love.
Living
on.
Conditions is one of my favorite episodes in the entire series.
Yeah.
It is
Kathy?
amazing because if anyone's ever lived with anybody, I don't
Yes.
care when you've ever done it, that episode of her cutting her, Buffy's cutting her fingernails and her drinking her milk and playing friggin' Celine Dion, or Cher. It is the perfect representation of what it's like to have a roommate. It just is. I don't
Living
care.
conditions. Yeah.
Honestly,
Perfect.
Kathy is one of my favorite. I wish it was like
wish
the
she
5
would've
episodes of
stayed.
Kathy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I wish like near Beer Bad we learned Kathy was a demon. But that Living Conditions goes down, and I hate it because Marty Noxon wrote it. But like it's one of my favorite episodes of the entire series.
It is.
It's
That
so
scene
funny.
where she gave us the perfect line where she's like, looks like someone woke on the wrong side of the bed today. Yeah, and guess what? You were next to it. Like, it was my favorite. It's a lot of
Perfect.
really good one-liners.
When
Like,
you open that tiny little mini fridge and she's labeled
Labeled the
every
eggs.
egg.
The eggs. Oh my god. And she's like
And then-
cracking and rolling it on the. Oh my god.
The
First of all,
sound
what kind of
effects, Nat,
fucking
like the
psychopath?
macro stuff and the sound effects, everything about that episode was perfect.
But what
Perfect.
kind of psychopath eats eggs before bed? Like,
Nope.
what kind of
Listen.
psychopath eats hard-boiled eggs before
Where the
they
hell
crawl
is she
into bed?
making them?
That's
Where's
a
she
great
making
question. Great question.
Also,
boiling them?
what fucking room is this big at any university
Oh
that they
my
have
God.
two
Actually-
closets, room for desks, and a little kitchen area,
I'm gonna have to
and
stop
two
you there.
massive beds?
I'm gonna have to
You
stop you
remember
there. I was
Felicity's room? Forget that. Think about
no.
Oh,
think about Rory Gilmore's room.
I
Rory
was so-
Gilmore looked
guys-
like she lived in a palace.
I was so lucky, you guys. I was so lucky. I went to Sheridan Residence, and we had 2 huge rooms. It was essentially just an apartment, 2 huge rooms with a kitchen and a bathroom. Each room was separate, doors. We put our queen size beds and our giant closets. I cannot fathom sleeping in the same room as a stranger for an entire
Okay,
year.
Rory.
No, I started seeing when I was seeing a guy who was at York University. It was the smallest room I've ever seen.
Yes.
With
Those rooms
2
are so
twin size beds, and I'm like,
Tiny.
how do you
And
do
they're concrete
anything in here?
walls.
Yes.
Concrete walls. I'm like,
It's
this
a
is
penitentiary.
disgusting. Like, I couldn't imagine. But then I actually did have a roommate who I went to vacuum our floors, and this was also in college. I vacuumed his floor because I was like, I've got the vacuum out. All I heard was like the tinging, and I'm like, what is that noise? All of his fingernails and toenail clippings that he just left on his floor was like it was the most. It was like vacuuming pennies up. I'm like, what
Oh.
is this? All fingernails. So I
Stefan.
get. Well, she's those living conditions. She's like, I get you. I get you. I see you. I know it.
Oh my
Kathy.
God. I've never shared a room. Wait, I want to give you just and everybody that's listening, if you're kids or if you're about to go off to university, please download this. Just have it on your phone, have it anywhere accessible, and play it for your friends because I'm telling you, I promise it'll ring true. When I lived, I never shared a room. So I didn't have to share a room in residence. That was god awful. I hated residence. I hated everybody about it. But anyway, when I moved in with twin girls. And when we first moved in, you're very nice to each other, right? You're like, where do you want to put your stuff? What do you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. And they're sisters. So I thought they would share stuff like shampoo. So I'm like, are you okay if I put my shampoo on the back corner of the tub? 100%. They put their stuff on the back left-hand corner, right? 2 months into the semester, one of them decides she wants to use different shampoo than her sister, apparently. So she starts moving my stuff from the back right. It's so passive aggressive. Guys, it's the episode. To the front right corner. Doesn't ask, just moves my shit. So what do? Instead of being an adult saying, what's wrong with you? I get in the shower and I move it's a game we play for weeks. We just keep switching, right? I start putting her shit outside the shower altogether. And finally, I got one of those shower caddy things. I said, put it wherever the fuck. My response was, put it wherever the fuck you want. I don't even care anymore. I'm going to put it in this. I'm sure you're going to have an issue with it. Well, we have to share the bathtub. I'm like, I'm going to kill somebody in this place.
My favorite stories. I have one story and one of my best girlfriends. She lived in a room where in her roommate was one of those like beatnik new hippie hemp everything way like girls where she had like the gross dreads and she wore like a sack essentially. And it was she'd stay up all night on her bongos, not even kidding, with no shoes on, with her boyfriend talking about how the establishment is the worst and the man is awful and like fight the power, and then come into class the next morning with a Starbucks. First and
Oh,
Well,
foremost.
yeah,
And
yeah.
my my
university.
favorite, my roommate, the nicest guy in the world, his name was Corey. He was fresh out of out of high school, probably small town. I met a girl. She insisted that they only eat everything deep fried. So the first problem was that everything in our apartment smelled like deep fried oil. And then they had so much sex, so often. And because he was a lazy 18-year-old, all he would do is just remove the sheets and they would just end up because he wouldn't do laundry. He just had sweaty gross sex on just the box spring and the mattress,
Sweaty gross
slept
sex.
on that, and then he left the pile of sheets between the vent of our two rooms and then would go to play hockey. And so he would leave his hockey gym bag, his sweaty gross sex sheets,
Sweaty
and
gross sex.
his deep fried like food just in I couldn't go into my room. I actually had to change rooms because I was
No.
like, I love God love you, but I
That's
literally
disgusting.
can't live here.
No.
Oh,
The
anyway.
Freshman. It's a
The
true
friend.
episode.
Yeah.
It's a true episode. And Buffy gets her I also the Freshman is it in the Freshman where no, it's not in the Freshman. When does she finally fight what's her face?
The
Living
first one, the
conditions.
freshman, the end.
No,
In
in the
living condition.
no end of living conditions. So it's episode 1 and
Wait,
2.
are we talking
Okay.
about Sunday or Kathy?
Sunday's the
What?
freshman, and Kathy is
Yeah,
living
no.
conditions.
I didn't hear what we were talking. I thought we were talking about Sunday.
Oh, I want to talk about Sunday because I want to talk about one thing with living. Was it the Freshman? I guess. Oh, so I skipped over. No,
I moved
Fat
you.
shaming in the freshman. It was really uncomfortable to hear all the fat shaming.
the fat shaming, but also what I actually loved, and this is 100% true. And please, if you're going to university, commit this to memory. You're about to go to an Imaginist poster festival.
Oh, it's so true.
And
Oh
when
my
you
God.
guys go to this
Bob Marley's.
poster festival, you're going to think it's the best thing. You're going to spend way too much money and whatever.
Mhm.
But watching the fact that they bet on which typical stereotype of a poster that they bought was the best thing I've ever seen. Because again, it's this pretense of bull crap. Well, like university kids don't even know who Klimt is. They don't even know.
No.
They don't even know. They just
No.
they see it and everybody else is buying it. Guys, be original when you go to that poster fest, please.
My favorite,
just try.
the small town white kids who think that Bob Marley
original.
and Scarface are just God's
The original.
gift. And when actually speaking of gift, when we went to residence for the first time, they all gave us a gift bag, and they had Kilo and Phoenix Axe body spray. Within
Oh,
2
no.
days, you couldn't
No.
walk down the halls because your eyes are tearing up because it only smelled like Axe body spray.
Guys, I'm going to give everybody the best advice you can possibly. Whatever your favorite movie is, you're 17 years old. I could give if it's High School Musical 1, own it. Go get that poster
Mhm.
and put. You have to. You can't lie about that.
No, you can't lie.
I'm not saying it's good. You want to know number 2, Anna's favorite movie? High School Musical. Do you know there's a TV show, High School Musical
is.
at
The musical
camp?
series,
There's
yeah.
3 seasons.
Ew, what? No.
I'm just saying you got to own your stuff. Whatever that favorite movie is, don't go get The Godfather. You've never seen it. Don't
Never.
put up Schindler's List. You're not smart enough for Schindler's List. You never ever put it. You didn't make it through the 3 hours. Stop lying. Your teacher
No.
made you watch in grade 10. You went to the bathroom 17 times. Listen, put a movie up. Go get the movie poster that you love. Just start there. Just start with a little
Showgirls.
bit. That's all I'm saying.
Showgirls. Stefan, no matter what you put on your wall, no one is ever going to believe that you are a heterosexual man.
I don't know
how
what you
many
mean.
boobs you
What?
put
Okay,
up.
wait.
The
What are
girl
you
with the
putting up
job.
when you're
What am I
when
putting
you're
up?
in high school, whatever,
Yeah.
you're out of high school, you're 17,
Yeah.
you guys can remember, what do you put? What movie poster do you buy, honestly, and put up on that wall?
I can't answer this.
I
Stefan, you
can
go
absolutely.
first.
I actually worked at the Boulevard Cinemas in Gananoque for many years and collected so many posters. I
That's
can
a
tell
great
you,
thing.
I actually put up, and it's so lame now, Tomcats, Jude Where's My Car, um, Final
Where's my
Destination.
car? That's the straightest thing you've ever said.
Oh my God. Like, I had terrible taste. Sorority Boys was in there because it was my favorite movie at the time. Um,
That
oh
tips you.
God, like big ones, big, like just insane movies. I loved collecting posters. It was actually a big hobby of mine.
But I really, really respect the honesty of your post. Stu, what do you put up?
So I was a huge movie fan. So I had The Hours, Home at the End of the World, Teaching Miss Tingle. Um,
Oh, good one.
I
I like
had
teaching.
an X-Men poster.
I also had
I
the X-Men poster. Yep.
I like
I
it.
had what was the other one? It was a comedy. Elizabethtown. I had Elizabethtown on my wall as
Oh my
well
God. I still
because I
have that
was.
movie. I gotta give it back to you.
Yeah, you have to get back to me, please.
Give it to me
And I
post
also
or
had
pre-pandemic.
Spider-Man and The
Oh my god,
Talented Mr. Ripley because I loved
nice! I
Sheila.
just
Oh,
rewatched that.
And like I
Really
and
good
Matt
choice.
Damon, I had uh the one where he did with Ben Affleck,
Good Will
Dogma?
Good Will
Hunting.
Hunting.
Oh, Good Will
Me
Hunting.
Good Will
too.
Hunting. I just stare at them all night long.
I had
I love that movie.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen too because I was so fascinated with that film and it was a terrible movie and I loved it.
I had a small one of that one from like the tribute magazines.
Uh, I
Nice tribute
Tribute
magazines.
Yeah.
magazines.
The
Love
only thing I have
those.
left of my times at the theater is I have this. I have a an actual film celluloid trailer of Spider-Man 1. It was the teaser
Oh,
trailer, but it's
cool.
the one where he actually strings up the bad guys between the twin towers. And I'm
That's
like,
cool.
I wonder if it's worth anything these days. I don't know. I'm gonna check one
That
day.
is awesome to have, though. Find
Yeah.
out.
I
I
mean, it's got
like
to be a
that.
collector at this point. Anyway, so yeah,
100%.
we take down Celine Dion. We put up with Dingoes Ate My Baby, and then bam, Willow's with Buffy and
And
Living
then
Conditions.
bam, and then Willow starts pissing her off. And then
Oh
you
God,
have Buffy.
funny
I don't want to spend too much time with Buffy and what's his face. I
Parker.
just think that we forget that what era the movie was made, the TV show was made in. We're still in the 90s, guys. We're not enlightened.
I think that the problem is that like yes, we're not enlightened. 100% I agree with you there. We're not enlightened, especially considering her love of the pleather pants in the later part of the season that
Oh
never
Oh,
fit
my.
her
I
properly.
like the flip.
I know I love yeah, God, give me a pleather pant every single day and like in a great lipstick red, but like make sure it fits you.
Yeah.
Like just make sure it fits. Like there is always so much sag.
Yep.
Because you're wearing a diaper. But um, I think the problem I have with this storyline is the fact that it doesn't ring true to the Buffy that we know. Buffy
At
who
all.
stands up to the guys who talk down to women in high school. The
Yeah.
Buffy who like has no problem kicking ass and saving the world. And it just felt a little off center for her to spend 5 episodes on a character that we got to introduce in a line to the cafeteria and told her that she needs Ziploc bags to seal the wet food.
Yeah.
Like it just was a lot for me. Like if this was she didn't even spend this much time crying over Angel. It was like
Yeah.
one episode of her crying over Angel.
Well, we did
It's
see
five
her. She was
episodes,
gone for a few months.
right? But like how good was the D that she's sobbing for 5 straight episodes when Angel, who she's love of her life, sent to hell, he comes back to her. The love, like their love is so true that he has to leave because he can't imagine not being with her and has to like set his life apart. And
Oh,
she cries for 1 episode, tells
But
Willow, I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like
I
I'm dying.
here's
let's
the thing, though, and I don't think guys will ever understand the way that women and their sexuality and who they choose to have sex with weighs on them. Like I didn't care about guys, so I didn't go through any of that. But that's just because I didn't give a crap because I was
yeah.
gay and I just didn't know it. But I
Mhm.
promise you, if I was like, it's like this weight. If you do it, you're a slut. If you don't do it, you're
You're
a
a
prude.
prude.
You have to wait 3 months. No, you don't wait 3 months. You have to wait a couple of dates. Well, if you wait too long and you're holding it over him and you're playing games and you're a tease and all of that, and you're still going to health class where teachers are saying things like, it's up to the girls. The girls are the gatekeepers. You say yes, you say no. They might have said listen to the girl, but somehow we were still the center of morality, and it was immoral for the most part to talk about when you're going to have sex, who you're going to have sex with, and then guys talk about it and they make you feel like crap and then they lie about it.
It's
It's just that was it. When you were young, that's what it felt like. You
and
guys are like, I don't know what that feels like, but I'm telling you, I don't know if it's true. Maybe it's true with guys as well, like in the gay community. I don't know. But when I had a guy that I dated for like 10 minutes and he lied about what happened between us. And then he told people. And I'm like, oh, like I've never felt so like angry in my entire life. And I remember two of my guy friends handled it. And in retrospect, I'm like, how did I not destroy him?
right.
How did I not eviscerate him in the cafeteria? How did I not do that? Well, I didn't do that because whether or not I was gay or straight at the time, there's like this, it's like we can't be as soon as we're emotional, you guys just said it. As soon as we're emotional at all, we're overreacting.
Well,
Right?
yeah, and but Joss had a choice. Joss Whedon had a choice. He created this. He was known for creating feminist characters and writing and women empowerment, and he chose to make Buffy this weeping pile of sadness because God forbid she allow herself to feel pleasure or enjoy herself. She
100%.
had to, and then it's in on the exact on the other side of that coin, which really upsets me. And I'm going to ask you two what you think. The way Spike was written in this season prior to the chip was not only predatory but like dangerous. There's multiple times. So in the harsh light of day, you find out that he's dating Harmony, and the
Harmony.
only way to describe their relationship is abusive, both
100%.
physical and emotional, and it's terrifying. Then he goes and he starts harassing Buffy about like just being a pig, about how, oh, you let him have a poke, and oh yeah, Angel said this about you, this and that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
the
yeah.
worst thing he did was when he went to try and find Buffy and instead finds Willow. And it's one thing to turn her into a vampire. In the initiative, the episode The Initiative,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Spike
yeah.
goes to, that's when you realize he has the chip, but he goes
Yeah.
there on a mission to kill Buffy. And
Yeah.
instead, he's going to turn Willow into a vampire. But it is graphic. It's one thing to be like, I'm
Yeah.
going to turn her best friend into a vampire. It was essentially a rape scene. And it
Yeah.
was scary because you're dealing,
Yeah, it's like performance anxiety.
yeah.
Willow even jokes about it.
Yeah, because she's scared and confused, but like she has a history with this person, whether it be good or bad, so she can make that rapport. But when you're setting up these stories about women going to college and being weary about allowing themselves to be free and experimenting sexually and this and that and just be themselves, and then you're showing men abusing them physically and sexually, regardless if it's a vampire or not, you're making terrible writing choices. It's all another reason that this season just falls so short, because he was so intelligent in his writing in the past few seasons, and because he wanted to show this story of she's the freshman, it's new, she's scared because she's a little fish in a big pond. You could have wrote this better. You could have made it less of a cautionary tale and more of like an empowerment story. And I hate it.
Well, eventually it gets there. Stu, what do you think?
I
Eventually,
would have
you could have done
eventually.
better.
I think what with the weird disconnect between Spike is the fact that he was so like smart and manipulative and conniving in season 2.
Yeah.
And then in season 3, I for some strange reason don't remember him in season 3, but like maybe it's just me.
He showed up
Was he in
hammered.
season 3?
He showed up
Because
hammered.
Drusilla leaves him.
Yeah,
Right,
Drusilla
right.
leaves him, and then like he just he's essentially like a commentary for Angel and Buffy's relationship, and then he f's off.
Right. He comes in for like a one episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he shows back up in season 4, I think it's such a weird kind of like retcon of the character because he becomes very aggressive. He loses his kind of innate coolness, his like very
He
like
really
manipulative
does.
head.
Yeah.
And it sort of feels like he's like a different character in the same body.
Mhm.
But I think what I would have loved, and like this is just kind of like me rewriting the season, I really like Sunday. I thought that was a really interesting dynamic between her and Buffy
Mhm.
because she
Yeah,
ends up, like Stefan said, Buffy is no longer the big fish in the small pond. She's a big fish in is a bigger pond. And
Yeah.
Sunday really is ruling the roost. So I would have loved if we had, if they wanted to bring
It
Spike back
continued.
and team up with Sunday,
yeah,
because both those characters have a similar energy in like different seasons. Like
hundred
she's a
percent.
little bit more impulsive, a little bit more um, young, and he could have like helped mold and had this like larger storyline. But instead we were treated to the initiative, which I
Oh,
think was the worst
the worst.
mistake ever. And I don't really understand why we needed to bring in the military into a story that it was supernatural,
Yeah,
because what ended up happening was that you have now, if we're looking at Buffy like lore, we have the Watchers Council, who is like supernatural, who is trained the Slayers, who is there since the beginning, and the Watchers Council has been created from these like three men who created the Slayer. Um, really like making sure the end of the world, working with covens and like the supernatural like demons. And then you have the US government
I
who
know.
is
It's just the
capturing
war.
and calling them like, I can't remember the word they use,
The
subterrestrials.
keys. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
hostels
And then they're like testing
Hostels.
on them and doing all this. So you have this
in a
weird
reflective pool.
dichotomy. Yeah, you have this weird dichotomy of like, if everyone knows what's happening and one is working supernatural and one is working on the science, and none of them are coming up with the same results and they don't know anything from each other, then they're not doing their job super well.
No,
And it created a really horrible discourse, and it kind of put the rest of the story in flux because it just didn't make the rest of it make sense. Because if there was a giant snake in at Sunnydale High, which was a couple of kilometers away from UC Sunnydale, the military would have come and like taken them. If there was if there was like
Excellent
hyenas
point.
and demons, like, but
You
also
think
looking
they would have?
forward into the
Yes.
rest of this season with like when Sunnydale is taken and captured by the Hellraisers, where was the military then? Like all of
yes,
these things, because they wanted to contain it, it didn't make sense. And for such a large story and for such a like a disruption of the timeline and the history and the lore, they didn't do a good job of like
Nothing. It
so
like
rubbing it
blew it
out.
up.
there's it makes no sense that like, and also if you think about it, the mayor is government. The mayor is the government. So wouldn't they have
Right.
known about the mayor? Also, how can you not know about the Slayer? I mean, I understand that it's like it's a top secret kind of like chosen one sort of a thing, but are you literally just bagging and tagging these demons, or are you doing any research? Because clearly they're not
Right.
talking to these creatures, whether it be vampire, witch, whoever, werewolf. They are just taking them out and not actually understanding why or why they're there, what they are. It doesn't, because when she goes, "I'm the Slayer," and he's like, "What?" It's like, how do you not know? You have
But
all
but
these vampires, and not one of them was like, "Oh, the Slayer must be involved."
But you know
but,
what?
but Forrest knows. Forrest said to Riley later on, "I figure the Slayer is like the boogeyman for subterrestrials." So how
Yeah.
does Forrest know what it is?
Well,
And
they
Riley,
kind
who
of
outranks
know.
him, doesn't
Yeah,
know.
But I think okay, so it's awful. The whole thing is awful. But I think what it's when
Terrible.
it focuses on the military, I think the point is to show how broken man's in general, humanity's response to violence is.
yes,
If we step back for a second, right? If we step back for a second, they don't ask the why, right? They
no,
never ask the why. What
Right.
at some point Buffy says, "What do they want?"
hmm
Whatever the thing is, what do they want? They all look at her like, who cares what they want? But I think that I don't think we needed a whole fucking season for it. I don't know why I'm
no,
screaming so much today. It's been a long weekend.
it's season 4.
um but I don't think we needed a whole season. But the notion that not just the American military, they might be the example, the notion that we tend to deal with violence or we tend to deal with issues like that in a how do we just are going to stop it, we're just going to get bigger, we're going to be stronger, we're going to have more
hmm
guys on our side, rather than understanding the why. Because if we understand the why, maybe we don't need so many guys with guns. maybe the solution looks a lot different, right? And at the end
Mhm.
of the day, the whole military, all of America's military, gets crushed under the weight of Adam. And what does Buffy do? Her and her 5 friends join together, in a mind meld, and that's who does it, because you have to understand the why. So I like the mythology in it. Like, I like the metaphor. It's just that I didn't need to see
It
17, 18 episodes about
No,
it.
it 100% should have just been similar to the Watchers Council, where it came in once or twice, maybe a
I kind of
season.
saw it, and yes.
Yeah, because clearly he didn't know what to do with it either. Because you're right, he literally destroys the compound and salts the earth. Anything that was in there was just left behind, and we find that out in season 7. But
Yeah.
but then it's almost never mentioned again. Like there are hints of it because Riley continues on after the season, barf,
Right.
and then we'll see him throughout, like again, kind of sprinkled throughout the new seasons after the fact. So there are clearly initiative sectors, but you're
Yeah,
right.
they don't
Did
cut
we?
it down. They keep doing
No.
what they're doing.
Yeah, because really the only thing is that if we had like a mad scientist Frankenstein creation, which is what Adam was, if it turns out that just what's her face, the psych teacher, if she was
Maggie.
just Maggie Walsh, if Maggie
Yeah,
Walsh
yeah,
was sort of a rogue scientist,
I
maybe
would have
connected to
loved
the
that.
Watchers Council, so she
Yeah,
had
I
some
would have loved
mystic
that.
about her, like it's
Yes.
very similar to that Watcher that we like lost in season 3. Some
Yes.
rogue person that was creating her own experiments to be like, I'm
Would've
going
been
to cleanse
cool.
the earth. And then it
Yes.
just all ends up the same way. It didn't work. It didn't work. It was a terrible season with some excellent episodes throughout, but not enough to justify this season.
But even the fact too, like going back to your original point, how it doesn't work. Even if you were like to take the Adam storyline for 1 second and
Mhm.
like let's talk about it. How is the military going to um, let the public know or like inform the public that now they have a super soldier who is made of demon parts,
Yeah.
like
But
Yeah.
fighting in
But you
wars?
gotta know, this is the American military, right? It's never, you don't create things to fight your own people. You create things to fight somebody else.
No,
And when you're fighting
100%.
somebody else, Americans don't give a crap.
But
But
Forrest has
but
yellow and
but
black
my point
skin.
is the fact that you're still gonna see this.
Demon.
The military is nothing but bombastic. So like if they create a super soldier, we see it in every single like Americanized war film. If they create something, they're going to talk about it,
Sure,
Yeah.
and
maybe
then
they
it's
would have put a better outfit on him. She
but
wasn't
but
done.
Hide his face, put him under an actual visor or something. Yeah.
He wasn't finished. He could have had a Captain America outfit on when he was finished.
right.
True.
But
Nobody let him
again,
get
like
finished.
True.
I think the interesting thing about Adam is that even if you were to carry that story forward a couple of seasons, it still doesn't make sense just in the ecosystem of Sunnydale alone, because people are going to be like, "Huh, there is a 6'4" like man who has an arm that can just turn into a bazooka, and
Yeah.
another arm that has like he can throw like little like talons from." Like there's something weird about that guy.
Just
Like he
something
also
about him, you know?
what was the
You think
stitch work on his face? Like the staples they used were like fucking like plate
I
like
don't think she
do
was
do do
done.
do do.
Also,
But I
sad
also
story about
think
him
there's
too.
this whole thing. It's just like the whole other town, right? Everybody sees that whole town has been inundated with vampires and demons forever, and nobody ever sees anything or remembers anything. So I think maybe they were gonna, that could have been played on a little bit.
Right.
I
But
know my one of my favorite episodes from here, before we get too deep in the niche, is got to be Fear itself.
oh my
Who's
Mm.
god, fear itself.
who's a little fear demon? Come on,
What you got in that
that's
bag? Weapons. I mean, we shouldn't even talk. Honestly, we shouldn't give the initiative the harsh light of
I don't
day.
think so.
Wink,
There's
wink.
not too much we can.
No one got that, but it's fine. Let's not give it the
Light
harsh
of
light of
day.
day.
Thank you. All right, that was
Let's.
slow.
I think that we really need to just focus on like the major. Like these episodes are amazing. Like these episodes are
Yes.
amazing. Wild at Heart, when we're learning more about like Oz's wolf side and the connection he
Yep.
has, that the fact there are other wolves out there and there are bad
Well,
influences, like taking him to go find himself.
Oz's
Separating.
gonna be a bad boy.
Yeah, because God
Come
forbid
on,
Joss
that was
have.
revenge through and through.
Oh well.
Him and Veruca.
I don't
Come
know.
on.
I I leave it to Joss to ruin the one good relationship, but like at least he did because then we got Tara.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he had to go. I mean, it's unfortunate that he had to go because I think he was a great addition. I think he
Oh
was
my god!
probably his delivery and his acting and everything about him was amazing. But it is sad that he had to go because I think
But like,
like
why did
part of
we?
me gets
To bring it back to something that Stuart said earlier, like yes, Sunday and Spike would have been such a phenomenal team because Harmony is without a doubt my least favorite character in the Whedonverse. I
makes me laugh.
cannot stand her. And they had a comic series, like a whole season about her or a sub season about her, and it was so annoying.
Oh,
I hate
really?
her. Oh yeah, she's her with Clem, and like she's like a vampires are seen as like
I'm so
influencers at that
funny.
point. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then it was again with Spike though. It was so clear he hated Spike and wanted to somehow ruin Spike's character or have people hate Spike, but it just made
Because
it
he never wanted him there.
never. And so he was
He
making
never
these
wanted him there.
terrible choices with Spike, but then it just made the audience like him more. It was weird. It just weird era. I don't think a character like Spike would have lasted as long as it did, and I don't think the choices that he made in the writing of Spike would have lasted. It wouldn't have happened the way it did. I don't think. And then to lose Oz and have Spike sort of take his place within the Scooby Gang for a while, like it was just choices.
Yeah. Well, but it does lead to one of my favorite. I don't even know if it's my favorite. It has some of my favorite lines in of all time, which is Pangs,
Yeah.
because Xander getting the funny syphilis, and and you know, them going on and on about the tradition of Thanksgiving and Buffy wants to have it and Willow's against it. And
Mm-hmm.
all of the subtext going on in that thing about, well, I love the politicization about the entire thing. You know, Willow's like, he should get his revenge. And Giles, of course, from England is saying, listen, we're still trying to get over calling you the bloody colonists. Like,
Yeah.
I think there was so much funny and so much depth in that episode, which was just hilarious. I'm trying to remember when my favorite line from this whole season is when Spike says to Harmony, I like syphilis more than I like you. I don't know who I'm going to use that line on. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I hope sometime in my life that I get to say to somebody dead to their face, I like syphilis more than I like you. I think it
And
was perfect.
I also will say that it was such an episode. Blah, blah. It was such an excellent episode because we had Angel. Because Angel in the
See
bachelor
that?
party, he
Yeah.
saw a vision of Buffy in trouble, which leads to literally the best episode of season 1 of Angel, which is "I Will Remember You," and
Right.
Oh, I
it's
love
when
that
Buffy
episode.
shows up and he gets to be a human for a day, and
Day. And then he
goddamn,
forgets.
oh,
Yeah, I know. Well, then everybody forgets except for
except for
him,
him,
right?
yeah. So
I also just I wanted to go back to something someone said about Veruca because um that storyline was meant to go on much longer.
oh,
But Seth Green asked to be pulled out of his contract. Basically, like Seth Green
Oh, I didn't know
I didn't
that.
know that.
abruptly left Buffy because he went to Joss Whedon and said, we're not really pushing on Oz's potential. Like we're
Yeah,
not really fleshing him out. He's not really doing anything. And everything we're writing for him with this kind of storyline that we have going is in drastic opposition to making him more fleshed out. In fact, we're just diluting him more and
yeah,
Yeah.
he becomes more of a side character. So he said like, listen, I was getting movie deals. I was
Austin Powers.
I was like getting the knockaround guys. He asked to be let out of the season for 6 episodes, and they were like, "Well, it's easier just to let you out entirely." So that's why
Gosh, what a dick.
was that storyline was so fast and so rushed.
Yeah.
And it felt
Mhm.
fast and rushed
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
because like Veruca, when they first introduced her, seemed like she was going to be a larger part of it, like
A bigger
Oz
story.
understanding how to be a wolf more,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but instead it ended up being a love triangle.
Yeah.
Which
That
would
that worked to only exit Oz out of the show and push Willow into Tara. But what it didn't do was do anything for the Oz character
no.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like it didn't grow him. You didn't learn anything new about him. You didn't do anything. And I
Everything that
think
happened with him was
it's
after.
yeah. And I think it was such an interesting kind of conversation to have, because we don't see Oz again until later on in the season, and then
New
after
Moon
that,
Rising.
it's pretty much gone. So we don't get a resolution for Oz. We get one when him and Willow have that conversation about how she like will turn the corner in Istanbul and she'll have blue hair and it will just feel like they're together.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like Oz
Yeah.
was done a real disservice for the amount of like work they did with him in season 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But even then, if you think about it, like Oz in season 4 and Oz in season 2 are exactly the same Oz. There's no growth. There's nothing more we know about him.
Right.
He's literally an extension of Willow's character and a driving force for her growth. But I agree with Seth Green. He's
Yeah.
contracted as a series regular, and he doesn't have his own storyline. And then when they give him his own storyline, all it is to destroy the relationship between him and Willow.
Yeah, because he shows up in episode 19, which is where we finally confirm that Willow is
New
a
Moon
lesbian.
Rising, right?
New Moon Rising. And the entire time, like between episode 19 and episode, what is it? 6? Jeez, he was gone for a while. They created a comic series based on Oz. I'm so sorry. Someone is really loud on my street. They created an entire comic series based on him, just so he went to like Tibet and all that stuff he talks about in like 3 seconds of New Moon, New Man or New Moon Rising. He does all that in a comic series. And then they bring him back in season 8 for an additional storyline within a comic series where he has a son and a family, and a wife, and he's essentially trying to teach Willow and Buffy how to control their power. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah, that would have been, yeah, there it
It's
is.
so awesome. Like, he's such an excellent character. But then, funny enough, even with all the changes Willow goes through throughout the seasons, she actually does seem jealous. And she's like, it could have been me. It could have been us. And it's like, well, no, it wouldn't have been, because, you know, you're a lesbian. It was a very interesting, very fun story. And it's great that they brought him back for that series. I really, really enjoyed it. But you're right. All the growth was outside of the show.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you have these great actors. Like Seth Green is a fantastic actor and a very nuanced actor.
Yeah.
And for them to invest more time outside of this like source material, we'll call the show a source material for this, for all like the comic books and the fiction, the books, and the young adult novels. Like the way they use their actors and their characters, apart from like the core Scooby gang of like Xander, Willow, and I would say Xander I'm going to place just on the side over here, because I don't think they gave him a lot of growth either.
Nothing.
It was really a show about Willow and Buffy. That was really
and
the only
Giles.
show we got, was a Willow and Buffy storyline. Even Giles got a little bit more growth than Xander. But like that's all we had. Like it's really just a dual character show. And I argue that even if Sarah Michelle Gellar wanted to leave and the show was still called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they could have made the show about Willow and moved her into her central character. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't have changed the show that much, because all you're doing is eliminating the actual Slayer, but they had Slayers in season 7.
Right.
They could have continued it on with a series of Slayers rather than one Slayer.
It could have been called Slayers.
Exactly. But I think, or a spin-off show of some sort. But I think that's like the true kind of disservice the show did to a lot of the really great characters that they created, and they created great characters, was that they couldn't separate, they couldn't give the same growth, the same work through they did for Buffy and Willow than they did for the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's like, I feel it's great to hear that, and I haven't read the comic books. It's great to hear in the comics, even with the young adult novels that a lot of the writers wrote while writing Buffy, you got a lot of really great character development for Cordelia, for Angel, for Drusilla, Darla, and now I'm hearing about Seth or Oz and Xander. But you didn't see any of that in the show. So I find it so interesting that a lot of these writers have gone on to write comic books, or during the show's run wrote YA novels, but they couldn't pepper those storylines from the YA novels into the show.
But you got to wonder how much of it was Joss.
Exactly. I would agree with that.
Way too much.
Like, I think as soon as Seth Green sat Joss Whedon in a room and had the audacity to suggest that he was deserved more, I think Josh is what we can now see very, very clearly. His insecurity and his all of that would have been puffed up, and all of a sudden off the show you go, because I'm not dealing with that kind of ego,
Mhm.
even though it would have been better for the show.
Yeah.
Now we do run into, and I want to talk about this one before, this episode, before we do a part 2. Hush, come on, everybody that's anybody talks
Hush.
about Hush.
I just
Mhm.
watched it
Right?
recently.
Those guys were terrifying. Terrifying. That was a scary episode. B, didn't they win an Emmy for it?
They did.
Did they get nominated? I know they got nominated for The Body as well, but did they win something for Hush?
I don't think they won
I feel like
anything. They won. They had nominations for beer. They had nominations for it, but they didn't win it.
Okay.
They had.
I thought he did.
Outstanding cinematography for single camera series for Hush, and outstanding writing for a drama series for Hush. But it was only
They didn't win? Oh, okay.
3
They won
nominations.
for The
No
Body,
win.
yeah? What did
I
they
don't
win
know.
an Emmy for?
The Body.
Is
Was
that
it
it?
Body?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Also, this was like the highest broadcast episode of the season.
Yeah, because everything else was like in the 4.83.
But then again, it's just what the hell is going on with these side characters? Because why did we even have Olivia there? Was it Olivia that was seeing Giles?
Oh
What
yeah,
was that?
what was that?
Oh,
with
yeah.
her?
That was weird.
Like she
It was
showed up
weird.
once.
For what point? There is no point to that whatsoever. You're right.
But also,
no
even then, they even get Cordy. Yes, Stefan. Yes, because they had a whole history between them. They
as
put
Ripper.
into the episode, and I was like,
And nobody talks about it. It's just
no one
done.
talks about it. Like, who was
Because
she?
because they brought her into I believe she was in not the freshman but the next one. She was in that episode, and then Living Conditions, because she was just in his house in like his shirt, and she said the
Right.
name Ripper.
Oh,
So
yeah,
she knows who Giles is because they have a
Yeah.
history. But then at the end of the episode, when she goes, "Whenever you wrote those letters to me, I always thought you were just being, facetious or
Pompous.
Grandiose,
exaggerating,
Yeah.
grandiose."
Hyperbolic,
And it's scary. I'm like, well, wait a minute. You knew him as Ripper. So what are you talking
None
about?
of
It's
it makes
scary.
sense.
You know him.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
He
and
was,
exactly.
exactly.
Then she was in his dreams, and then she was gone. And I'm like, what happened? But like,
Yeah.
I will say though, this is because we are introduced to Tara. It is probably one of my favorite episodes of the season. Like, I love my
Absolutely.
Faith. We'll get into 5x5 and New Year,
Yeah.
this year's girl. But like,
When they hold hands, when she holds her hand,
oh my God.
and they move the vending machine, I was just like,
What is happening
going on here? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It
I
was
like
So
that
good.
all of their magic together was like a
all of their
euphemism for
magic.
sex.
Yep.
It's so
When they did that
so
spell
clear.
in 5x5, like
Yes. Where they're
I
like
was like,
panting and
they're just
holding.
having a lot of orgasms in this
Like,
episode.
something
Like
that
it was so much. Like just like the imagery and the way that it was shot, and when Willow went back and like fell on the pillow,
Oh, I
and like
know.
with this sighing and the moaning, I was like, "What is
Wasn't the line come
my
under my
mother
willow
walked
tree?
in on that
Yeah.
episode. I was watching
Yeah.
it in my
Spread
room.
beneath my willow tree. Yeah.
Yeah,
Spread beneath my
Ooh.
but
willow
like
tree.
my mother walked in when I was watching 5x5, and or Who Are You rather? It was Who Are You? So I think 5x5 is an angel, right?
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah,
5x5.
5x5.
5x5 is here, and in hers, it's called Sanctuary.
But the spell they did, that was in
5x5, which is in that next episode. So it goes this year's girl. Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. It's this year's girl.
Who Are
and
You?
Who Are You?
Yeah, 5x5 is an angel.
Right. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was like, oh my God, I've missed an episode. Anyway, so but like in that episode, my mom walked in and she was like sitting on the edge of my bed, being like, what are they doing? And I was like, magic. And she was like, and I remember just sitting there being like, oh, okay.
Magic.
What show is this? And I was like, it's Buffy. And she's like, oh, okay.
Just-
Well,
Apparently they wanted to show the intensity of two women being together, but not enough because they didn't know what the characters are going to be like going forward. Apparently there was also an idea of having a sex scene between Buffy and Riley, but because it was a silent episode and he thought it was way too early for that, he didn't allow it.
Yeah.
But I thought it was
way too early for Riley and Buffy, but not Parker and Buffy.
I
I'm
can't.
sorry.
And then they did. Remember that horrible? I don't even know the name of it. That horrible episode where all
Where
they
the
do
wild
is
things
have
are?
sex.
Where the wild things are, which is so gross because one of the things that Joss Whedon is quoted as saying is something on the lines of, "It's about experimentation, about your sexuality, about who you are as a person. If you want to just have sex with your boyfriend all day, you can do it." And Buffy does, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
when the fraternity
you
house is
wrote
hostage.
that."
But let's remember the
But like,
connection. The
yeah,
connection in the crazy. It's about kids.
it's about a
It's about
Christian
kids.
fundamentalist who
It's
abused children under her care
Yeah.
when that was still an orphanage.
how
So
do
like,
those
it
connect?
doesn't compute.
And
No.
Josh is in the waiting room
The
going, "You know what,
orgasm
guys?
wall?
You know what, guys? Orgasm wall. Let's shave their heads. Let's just vine whip this place up. Let's do it. Let's just do it." Like, what was he thinking?
No, I don't think he was. I really don't think he was. I think, in somewhere in season 5, he really lost. He lost the. He
Yeah.
lost the
Tracy,
goal.
they had a different person. They had Tracy Forbes who wrote that episode, but like
Well, how many episodes did she end up
let me
writing?
just I just want to say something out loud because I feel like we all need to say it. We need to say the unspoken thing out loud. Having sex with Riley, I'm pretty sure, was like having sex with a blow up doll.
So
Like
boring.
there was nothing there.
Cut
He's
a
the kind
hole.
of guy at the end of it would give you a high five, roll over, fart, and fall
then do
asleep.
push-ups.
And do some push-up.
Yeah, it would just be like it would smell like protein powder farts, protein
just
powdered eggs.
Cut a hole in like a Ziploc bag of porridge and be like, "Well, I guess this is it."
This is all it is.
Oh my
And like,
God.
I'm sorry, but like, yes, you look good, but like, you are the
No,
most
but
boring,
he didn't.
uninterested in
No.
character in the world.
He
He's
didn't.
so
He
boring.
looked boring.
Boring.
Compared to
Everything
Angel?
about
Mm-mm.
him was boring. Even when we
Yeah.
found out he was on drugs, he was boring.
Oh, he was on Vampire.
Boring.
Whatever.
I
Whatever.
don't know
Would
how
say he was an Angel too,
should
but
have
like,
walked into that episode, laughed at him, and turned around and walked back
Oh,
out
yeah.
and said,
Right.
"Oh, honey, you're
oh my
broken
God.
as well. I have nothing to
I
compete
will-
with here."
I will never forgive Joss Whedon for having Buffy Summers, fucking Buffy Summers, heroine of the show, run across Sunnydale to beg Riley to stay. To beg him to stay? What are you begging for?
Because
What do
Xander
you
told her
want?
to.
Oh, Xander's horrible. But like, there's
It's
nothing.
his
But like,
own
I
notion,
can't.
though.
You are
Oh.
literally running across Sunnydale, degrading yourself to beg for a stalk of corn to stay with you. A stalk of corn.
Because he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
The stalk of corn whose biggest insecurity is the fact that he's not a superhero and not strong on his girlfriend. The
That's right.
misogynistic
Oh my
chauvinism.
God.
And then,
Horrible. And it's
Oh.
all
then
like, it's all veiled in his nice guyness.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then he's like, I liked at night, I sneak out of the our bed and I go to a bar, have vampires suck on my
We'll get
arms.
there.
I was like,
We're gonna get there.
what
That's
the
another
fuck?
season. Another
Let
day.
him leave.
It's gross. Absolutely
And she
gross.
still did not mourn that relationship more than she did with Parker.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She was with him for 2 fucking years, and she's crying for Parker for 5 episodes. Riley, she was like, "Guess he's gone. Bye." I went for a little nap after her long run.
Speaking of
She did
naps.
die, though. Let's be honest. She did die at the end of that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
like,
she had to. She was too embarrassed. And let's be serious. She took one fucking look at Dawn and was like, "You know what? The cement feels better than knowing I'm related to you."
And on that spoiler, season 5 spoiler, I'm going to cut it in half right here. We are going to come back next week and talk about part 2 of season 4. And then, guys, we're done with season 4. We don't ever have to talk about season 4 again.
We will have to talk about Superstar, guys.
No, God,
And
I was
that will be
just about to
something
say,
that hurts me.
please, can we just skip Superstar? Just skip Superstar.
Yeah. We will
It's the
skip
next episode after.
No, it's not. This year's girl.
We'll have to just tweak it as we go. Just like I don't care about the Iron team either.
No.
But
The Iron Team.
But speaking of naps, we got to get to
we're gonna
Faith.
kill them. And I can't handle the dream sequence. But anyways, we're gonna get there.
Yeah, the fucking like.
I hate it. I hate it
No,
all. Okay,
I hate
guys. Right before we get off, Stu, where can we find you?
Well, after this wonderful conversation, I'm going to charge back into the Hellmouth. But if you want to join me on TikTok, you can follow me at Janikin, JANIKON_. Or if you want to watch my life in pictures, which is at this point just a lot of sunsets,
Flip.
You can follow me on Instagram at the same name. And if you want to listen to my commentary on movies and television that sphere around the gay culture, I am also on Stefan's podcast, but you can listen to him tell you they can find it.
And Stefan?
Well, you can find me at the Temple of Prosser Pexa, which is where we'll find out season 6. You can find me, SJ Maroney, on Instagram, SJMARONI, and you can also find me with Stuart at Rebel Without a Closet, RWACPOD, on Instagram and Facebook.
Amazing. And you guys know where you can find me on Learn 16 on TikTok or right here every week, Tuesday morning, same bat time, same bat station. We will see you next week. Have a great night. Dismissed.